Well, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're hearing this. Good afternoon to our live students who are here with us live in class. My name is Jody Scholes. I am your instructor for the MBLEX review course. I am delighted to bring this information forward today. And every day, every time we come to class, we're going to be taking part in three separate sections. One is the very first part. I like to give you just a little insight into the MBLEX itself. And then we do some content. We'll cover some content today. We're talking about the benefits and physiological effects of massage. We're going to get through probably three systems of the body. Hopefully we get through three. We're going a little bit more in depth with this section today, so you can get right down to those nitty-gritty tough questions. And then the last part of our class, part 3 of 3, is we will dissect questions. So and that's really such an important part of taking the MBLEX is dissecting the question, really understanding what's going on with that question, and that way you can get to the best answer. But let's start with just a little bit about the test. I want to remind you it's a computer adaptive test. And so when you're getting difficult questions on the MBLEX, that means you've progressed through some simpler questions in that category. The first questions you'll get, the first 10 to 15 questions you'll get, are going to be of moderate difficulty, what they consider a moderately difficult. And I like to think of it of a scale of 0 to 10 or 1 to 10. If it's a 1, then it's a really easy question. But if it's a 10, it's a really difficult question. Now, you would wonder, like, oh, why is that? Well, the easy questions are less points. So the easy questions, you'll score a few points on. But those more difficult questions, you're going to score more points. And so that's the adaptive nature. And the way that test adapts is if you get that question correct, you answer it correctly, you're actually going to get a more difficult question. But if you answer it incorrectly, you'll get an easier question. We've looked several times at the content outline. We know that you are going to get about 12 questions on anatomy and physiology. So you'll progress in getting more difficult questions on anatomy and physiology. Likewise, we know you're going to get about 31 questions on business practices and guidelines to a professional practice. So of those 31 questions, you might see something you've never heard of before because it's a really difficult question, and people who are becoming lawyers get those type of questions. Stay calm. Stay calm. Breathe. Just sink your teeth into it. Use your test-taking strategies and make your best guess. And know that you're probably just getting a really tough question because you've answered very well already. So it's actually encouraging when you see a difficult question. I know that sounds backwards, but it's encouraging, meaning you're doing well in that category. And then the other part of test taking, which you may have heard if you decided to, in high school, take the SATs. What was one of the big rules about the SATs? The big rules about the SATs? Yes. Take your first answer, right? When you took the SATs, if you took the SATs, they would tell you to just always go with your first answer, right? So if you're thinking and thinking and overthinking, you understand the question. So you've gotten to the stem of the question. You've eliminated wrong answers. Go with that first answer. Don't overthink it. Your intuition is also part of your guide. So your intuition, your knowing, your inside knowing, and I like to say your angel team as well, is giving you those answers, is giving you what you need. And that's part of it. is going with your first answer, because typically your first answer is usually right. So understand that tough questions are actually a blessing because it means you're doing well. And also go with that first answer. Those are two of the strategies I wanted to offer you today as you prepare for the MBLEX. So let's get into our content. And I mentioned our content today is the benefits and physiological effects of massage. Ooh, let's see. We have all sorts of stuff going on in the chat. Let's go right to our lesson. All right, here we go. So welcome back. Welcome back for the MBLEX review course. I am so happy that you decided to spend some time with us today, some time with me, some time with the rest of us today in preparing for the massage and bodywork licensing exam. We are covering, I would love to cover all the systems of the body, but unfortunately, we're only going to get through a few. Here are the systems of the body that are involved and have benefits. Each of these systems of the body benefits from massage therapy. We're going to focus on a few of those today. Before we get into specific systems, I wanted to review with you the mechanical effects of massage and the reflexive effects of massage. And so when we talk about the benefits of massage, there are either mechanical benefits or reflexive benefits. Let's start with mechanical. The mechanical benefits of massage are a physical result. Something has been stretched, something has been physically addressed to get a mechanical effect. So as you see on the slide, it says it's been kneaded, it's been lifted, it's been rubbed, compressed, manipulated, stretched. There's been some manipulation, physical manipulation of the tissue. Okay, so some students, some graduates have a little bit of confusion around the difference because a mechanical effect affects the physical body. But let's take a look at something like hyperemia, because the reflexive responses let me explain and then give you the example. Reflexive responses come from the body itself. It actually is a result normally of the parasympathetic nervous system. So our rest and digest nervous system. And we're going to cover both parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems in just a few minutes. But the reflexive response is something that our body is doing on its own. So for example, digestion. Do we think about digesting our food? We don't. The body just automatically digests food, right? And so a reflexive effect of massage is that digestion improves. Now, if we do massage on the stomach, say we do the colon stroke on the stomach, and we think we're physically moving along some of that matter, not really. We're encouraging it to move along. Sometimes, yeah, we're physically manipulating the intestinal tract, but typically, digestion is a reflexive response. It's something the body is doing naturally. You'll see the other examples here. Lowering the blood pressure. Do we think about lowering our blood pressure? Well, sometimes we can ohm, right? But our body has to self-regulate. And that's what a reflexive response is. Lowering the blood pressure, lowering the heart rate, slowing it down, more rhythmic, slower but deeper breathing. Those are reflexive responses. So the relaxation response is a reflexive response compared to the mechanical. The mechanical is like cross-fiber friction on a scar tissue. There's physically something you're manipulating for that mechanical effect. All right. So mechanical versus reflexive effects are the two of the different kinds of responses in the body. All right, let's jump right in and talk about the cardiovascular system. So, the circulatory system, our blood, our cardiovascular system, is the system that transports all of the nutrients to the tissue in the body. So, what does it do? It transports oxygen, it transports carbon dioxide, it brings oxygen to the tissue, it takes carbon dioxide from the tissue, what we breathe out, right? Carbon dioxide. So the blood is how our nutrients, our tissue gets fed. Um, and that's the transport system, the highway system, if you will, through our body for blood. The circulatory system also, excuse me, so funny, my voice. So the circulatory also helps in fighting disease in that, excuse me for just one second. There we go. It'll help in fighting disease because it helps to promote our immune system, but the blood helps to stabilize temperature, and it also helps with pH balances, so the acidity in our body, as well as maintaining homeostasis. So let's take a look. You see our little guy here? He has a red and blue. So red and blue are representing the cardiovascular system. Why would that be? Hmm? Yes. So the red actually represents oxygenated blood. The blue represents deoxygenated blood. So you may have heard of the term blue blood. If your hands get cold, right? Sometimes the fingers will turn a little blue. The lips sometimes will turn a little blue. That means that there is blood that is going to your vital organs to preserve life, basically. So blue blood is deoxygenated blood. Red blood cells, red represents the oxygenated blood. So the blood that's on the way back out of the heart, it's already been to the lungs, and now it's heading out back to the body to offer those nutrients, that oxygen. The blue blood heads back to towards the heart, towards the lungs, to get rid of the waste products. So carbon dioxide is one of the waste products. There's lots of different metabolic wastes produced in our body. But just understand red and blue symbolize the red and blue. The red blood cells oxygenated, blue deoxygenated. And have you watched the video that is in our patron site on it's about 8 or 9 minutes on the pathway of blood through the heart? He does a great job. You see all these labels on the screen. You start with no labels, but just know right here is where the blood comes in, the right atrium. So the upper chambers are called an atrium. If you think about an atrium, we'll see a picture of an atrium later. But an atrium is usually a really high ceiling, right? So atriums are both the left and the right are the higher parts. The ventricles are in the bottom. But our blood comes in through the right atrium, goes through the tricuspid valve, through the right ventricle, and you can see, but go ahead and watch that because it makes a nice pathway out the pulmonary artery to the lungs. And so you'll see the different parts of the anatomy here. Uh, nice vena cava, the superior vena cava. So just go ahead and watch that, but know that it comes in to the right atrium, down to the right ventricle, and eventually out towards the lungs. But let's take a look at the benefits of massage for the cardiovascular system. So dilates blood vessels. Dilate means open, get bigger. When your eyes, if you've ever had an eye test, sometimes they'll dilate your pupil. It actually gets bigger, right? And that heightens, so dilate the blood vessels, opens them up. It also improves blood circulation. Now, we talked about the mechanical and the reflexive effects of massage. Is improving circulation a mechanical or a reflexive effect? An argument can be made both ways. So let's see. Oh, I cannot see the chat. Can I see the chat? I think I can. Sorry, guys, I can't see the chat right now. All right. So the improving of circulation, oh, there we go. I just saw. So the improvement of circulation is actually a reflexive effect of massage. Move this back over, there we go. So a reflexive effect, because we don't actually physically improve circulation. Now, when it comes to swelling, like say there's some swelling in the ankles, maybe from pregnancy, that we could consider a mechanical effect. But the body is really doing it itself. We're helping. So just be very careful if you're asked a question about the mechanical or reflexive effects of massage. Mostly they are reflexive. I use the example of cross-fiber friction on a scar tissue. That's mechanical. Stretching, kneading. All right, let's keep going. Because time goes fast. So decrease in blood pressure creates hyperemia. Hyperemia is basically a fancy term for a area of the tissue that floods with blood, that is flooded with new blood. So hyperemia, still a reflexive effect, because we are not saying, okay, I'm going to take this blood and I'm going to move it here. You know, we're going to, so this is still a reflexive effect. The view. All right, we're going to pause here for just a minute. And so make sure my view is correct. Thanks. All right, back to it. And this needs to move over so you can see. There we go. There you go. So hyperemia means a blood-rich, oxygenated blood-rich area. It's like, imagine a trapezius and you're working on it and it's white or like flesh-colored, whatever that flesh color is. And then as you work it, it turns a little pink, right? You know it's warming up. That's a hyperemia in that tissue. You're bringing new blood. You're softening the tissue much like a piece of clay. Like a cold piece of clay, you're warming up that piece of clay, you're warming up that tissue, and now new blood is flowing in. Fresh blood is flowing in. There's more capacity there for that blood to flow in. So it feeds, another benefit of massage to the cardiovascular system, it feeds the cells and it feeds the tissue. So by improving that circulation, we're bringing more nutrients, more oxygen into that area of the body, into the body in general. Oh, I see why. Sorry. I'm like, why isn't this going? There we go. Isn't that prettier? There we go. All right. So massage also reduces ischemia. Ischemia is a fancy word for an area of the tissue, that doesn't have a lot of circulation. So that can be caused by muscle tightness, but it also can be just naturally inherent to that part of the body. For example, the heel, the Achilles tendon, not really a ton of blood flow in there. That could be considered an ischemic area. But ischemic technically means that not a lot of circulation is getting through there. So it reduces ischemia, meaning it brings that blood into the area. Massage, the benefit of massage is it brings blood into the area, therefore reducing ischemia. It reduces heart rate and then also reduces the pulse rate. So it brings down the pulse, but it increases the stroke volume. What is stroke volume? You heard that term before. It might have been a minute. So the stroke volume is actually the blood pumped out of the left ventricle. So that's during cardiac contraction. Stroke volume just simply refers to the blood being pumped out of the left ventricle, and it increases that stroke volume, increases red blood cell counts in over the body because it improves the circulation, increases oxygen saturation levels. Have you heard of oxygen saturation? What is a normal oxygen saturation level? Would be 99%. So if we were to measure your blood, and let me just show you here. So a pulse um, I don't know that word, oximetry. Maybe you can tell me what that word is after, but I just always called that a blood oxygen measurer. So people with different chronic conditions may be monitoring their oxygen saturation level. Healthy is anywhere over, 95, 99. Really, we want to see it, in the 90s. People with a chronic issue, say COPD, maybe congenital heart defects, um, if they're having heart failure, asthma, anything that pneumonia, their blood oxygen levels may go down. And so we measure that with that little device there. It's on the finger. Sometimes you'll see it in hospitals, but even like people who are just monitoring their condition, maybe athletes, actually, triathletes use this little machine to make sure that their blood oxygen is staying strong. But massage increases oxygen saturation in the blood. So with a chronic condition, you could be in the 80s, but after massage, you would measure and you would see you were in the 90s. So that's been tried and true and tested, researched, and proven that massage increases blood oxygen, the oxygen saturation levels in your blood. All right, so it improves white blood cell count as well, and it enhances how well those white blood cells migrate as and that helps again with the immune system response, but it helps with those white blood cells migrating to areas where they're fighting bacteria, infection, those types of things. Oh, and fun fact, you have about 6 quarts of blood in your body at any given time. And blood is made up of plasma, red and white blood cells, and platelets. So technically, there's no blue blood cells, okay? Your blood isn't actually blue. It just looks blue when it's deoxygenated, okay? It's still a makeup of plasma, red and white cells, and platelets. All right. Moving away from the cardiovascular system into our lymphatic system. Now, some people will use the lymphatic system interchangeably with the immune system. Um, the immune system is a bigger picture. Like our immune system has a lot of different, oh, well, I have a slide on this. I added one. So let's just take a look at the lymphatic system specifically. It's a part of the immune system, and it's all those lymphatic vessels, lymph itself, that clear fluid. Um, and here's the organs in the lymphatic system. So we've got the spleen, we've got the thymus, we've got the appendix, apparently. We're still not sure what it's there for. Lymph nodes, of course, your tonsils and your adenoids are in there. Bone marrow helps with the lymphatic system for an immune response. Um, and just want to point out here, the thymus is not the thyroid, okay? The thymus actually is a little lower. It's actually it's a little lower than your thyroid. It's between your lungs. It's like right behind your breastbone, actually. And so the thymus is only active in a person's body up until puberty. And then it makes a special white blood cell called T cells, and they are used to help fight off bacteria, infection, disease, that type of stuff. So it's the thymus that is a part of your lymphatic system, not your thyroid, right? Your thyroid is here. It looks like your thyroid because it's butterfly shaped, right? But your thyroid is in your throat chakra. It's right here. But the thymus is lower. It's below your breastbone, just in case. All right, so benefits of massage on your lymphatic system. It promotes the circulation of lymph. It increases the lymphocyte count. Why do we care? Because lymphocytes attack disease. They attack, in this picture, you'll see the blue lymphocyte, good, is attacking the yellow, bad, cancer cell. So the lymphocyte, it increases the lymphocyte count, which helps your body fight off foreign bacteria and disease. It increases, so massage on the lymphatic system, for the lymphatic system, also increases the number of natural killer cells that are in your body. It helps to produce more. It creates homeostasis within the lymphatic system, which actually helps it to function better. So CD4 cells, that ratios, you don't really need to know much about those ratios. Just know that they have to do with the lymphatic system. So the lymphatic system is a part of the immune system, and I just wanted to show you the immune system in general. It's, the immune system is like our skin, right? So our skin is part of the way we are protected. And so the lymphatic is pictured here, but just know that it's a part of that immune system. It's not the whole thing. It's an essential part of the immune system, but it's not the whole thing. All right. So we'll take a little dip into the integumentary system and the benefits of massage for the integumentary system. So just as a reminder, this isn't anatomy. This isn't physiology. We're not talking about kinesiology. We're talking about the benefits of massage and the physiological effects of massage on these different systems. Okay, so what's in the integumentary system? It's skin, but it also includes hair, nails. Yeah. And if you're an animal, hooves, feathers, scales. Yes. So our skin is our first layer of defense. It keeps the water out. It helps to keep the water that we drink in, and it helps to keep the outside water out. It is our first layer of defense against bacteria and infection. And it is a wonderful way to just keep all of the structures in place, our integumentary system. So the benefits of massage for the integumentary system. It increases the skin temperature, warms it up. And you'll see here in the picture, the layers of the skin. This is something you probably will need to know. I'm not sure if you'll get tested on it, but something that I've seen on tests, and that's the hypodermis, right? Hypo, low. When you have hypothyroidism, right? It's your slow functioning. Hypodermis, the lowest layer of the dermis. Epi, when you need an EpiPen, you need an epi, up, right? So you need to get brought up. You need to get woken up. You're having you're having an allergic reaction. So epi, up. Epidermis is the highest layer of the skin. Massage will also improve the skin's condition by flaking off a lot of dead skin cells. It stimulates the oil glands. And did you know that most of household dust is skin? I know, not nice, but true. So benefits of massage, it improves our skin condition, stimulates the oil glands, the sebaceous glands that create that lovely. You'll see the sebaceous glands here are a part of our skin. Those are our sweat glands. So we help to, and that's another way that we get rid of waste. It's so good for us. It improves that skin condition. Apparently, I thought that was important to mention it twice. Oop. But yes, it's there's all sorts of benefits to massage on the integumentary system. So let's move into the, oh yes, good. I believe this might be our final system for today, the nervous system. Oh yes, because we have to go slow on this. All right. The nervous system basically is our central nervous system and our peripheral nervous system. You'll see a slide on that in just a moment. But the nervous system is another superhighway, through our body of nerves. And the nervous system communicates through sending electrical pulses. So action potentials around neurons technically is how that works. But these electrical pulses, and then those electrical pulses, the neurons, go find the neurotransmitters. So almost like cell service, right? Old-fashioned cell service. Oh, not cell service. Almost like TV back in the day. So running through wires, getting to the substation. Yeah, they're looking for those neurotransmitters, which are the chemical messengers of your nervous system. Brief anatomy on the nervous system, okay? But we're here to talk about the benefits of massage on the nervous system. So the nervous system's response to the stimuli is really almost instantaneous. However, the massage therapy can actually improve the communication of your nervous system. So central nervous system to peripheral, let's take a look at that. So the central nervous system is our brain and spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system is everything else that tracks out of there. So brain and spinal cord, peripheral nervous system. And so we have those two sections, but those are also divided into different parts of that. So in the central nervous system, we mentioned it's the brain and the spinal cord. It not only sends out information, but also receives information. And it's the regulating system of our body, the central nervous system. Peripheral nervous system, all that other stuff. Ganglia, everything outside the brain and spinal cord. So in the peripheral nervous system, we're going to focus on that for a few minutes because I want to go over the different parts of it. So we've got the somatic nervous system, and that's our just running in the background, right? Our somatic nervous system. Hopefully that's nice and calm. But then we've got the autonomic nervous system. And this is where things start to shift because as a part of that autonomic nervous system, you've got the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. And this is where we see a lot of the benefit of massage. We can have mechanical effects that are a benefit, to the spinal cord, to the vertebrae, right? When a chiropractor makes an adjustment, that's a mechanical effect. But we're going to be looking at the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, which is a part of our autonomic, meaning it's working automatically. And it is important to know the difference between these two. So these are the organs of each. And we'll see a closer a chart of this in just a minute. Parasympathetic, sympathetic. All right. So the sympathetic nervous system is our fight or flight. So one way to think about that was I would feel sympathy for someone who's always in fight or flight. And these are the effects of that nervous system. So what happens when we're in fight or flight? So we don't produce as much saliva. It's like our mouth gets a little dry. Mucus production is slowed down. Heart rate goes up. The stroke count goes up. The heart rate goes up. Our bronchial muscles actually relax a little because we know, I might have to fight a saber-toothed tiger here in the near future, right? So we're in that fight or flight. Oh my God, am I going to have to fight or am I going to have to run? Either way, my body needs to be optimized. And it's usually as some form of stress, right? We see a predator. Well, unfortunately, what you may have learned in massage school is that our bodies in 2022, we don't fight saber-toothed tigers, right? But we have deadlines, we have traffic, we have other stressors that start to produce this fight or flight response. And the majority of human beings are still living in fight or flight response too often. So in this, that digestion slows down. That's why stress, sometimes we feel it in our belly, right? When, oh, if I feel stressed, sometimes rub the belly. So digestion slows down during fight or flight. So absorption slows down. And also the adrenal glands, right? The adrenal glands is something you may have seen. They produce that epinephrine and norepinephrine. So it's like, okay, that's the hormone coming from the adrenal glands that makes our heart go faster. It's okay. We're ready. We're ready. Gonna run. Gonna fight or flight. Now this is compared to the parasympathetic response, which is exactly the opposite, right? In the sympathetic response, we reduce the amount of saliva. Parasympathetic, it increases because digestion increases, and saliva is actually the very first step of digestion. Yeah. So when you're chew, it's not just to like moisten the food. There's actually chemicals in our saliva that help to start breaking down the food. So during a sympathetic response, mucus production. I mean, yeah, when somebody lays prone, sometimes they wake up and they've got all this mucus, right? Well, that's partially because they're laying on their face, they're laying face down and it's trying to release, but also it's a part of the rest and digest. Mucus actually gets rid of, it's another part of our immune system. It actually gets rid of lots of foreign matter. It's there to collect it and get it out. So please, embrace the sneeze. It's actually your body's way of getting rid of stuff. It's out. So don't try and muffle your sneeze. Just let it out. Get a tissue and, don't be in a crowded room, but let it go. Heart rate during rest and digest. So this is a time, parasympathetic, we rest, we digest, the heart rate slows down, our breathing deepens. So gastric juices start being secreted. We're chilling out. We're digesting. We feel safe. This is the rest and digest. Makes sense, right? So a way to think about the parasympathetic nervous system is if someone were paralyzed from the neck down, they would only rest and digest. So just kind of keeping it. So we want that parasympathetic nervous system response. We want to eliminate the sympathetic. If we have sympathy for someone who's in that fight or flight mode, we want to get rid of that and stick with the rest and digest. All right. So that's a wrap on the recap, but it is time. It is time to dissect some questions. Oh, good. We have lots of time. All right, let's take just a breath. Let's check our posture. Check where we're sitting. Are we sitting on our sit bones? Are our legs crossed? Is anything falling asleep? Shoulders back. Roll them maybe a little. All right, let's take a look at our first question. Ha ha ha. Deoxygenated blood enters what chamber of the heart? The left atrium, the right atrium, the right ventricle, or the pulmonary artery? Now let's take a look at the question, okay? I threw this in here on purpose. Hopefully you've watched the video. I mentioned it earlier. Oop, we have answers, good. Deoxygenated blood enters what chamber of the heart? So deoxygenated, the blue blood, right? The blood that's full of waste, enters what chamber of the heart? Can we eliminate one of these answers right off the bat? We can eliminate one because one is not a chamber. Oh, there's my picture of the atrium. Yeah. Okay, so the pulmonary artery is not a chamber, right? So that's not the right answer. Let's take a look though. Right atrium, left atrium, ventricle. Okay, what's an atrium? Have you ever been to like a hotel where they had like this beautiful atrium and it had really high ceilings, right? So high up, those are the two highest chambers of the heart, the left and right atrium. Yeah, atriums have that high ceiling, right? So, okay. So here's the heart. Now, this is not in order because number one is the pulmonary artery, and that's not where it comes in. But I'm going to put this little worksheet in your in the patron site. And if you're listening to this later and you're wondering what's the patron site, the patron site is where this community gathers. It's where these videos are posted, and there'll be a link to it in whatever you're watching. Okay, so number one is the pulmonary artery. So that's not it. Let's take a look. Okay, so we know we've got left atrium, right ventricle. This is where the heart, so where the blue X is where the blood enters. Do you know what chamber that is? All right, it's going to be the left atrium or right atrium, right? Because it's in the upper part. Let's take a look. It is the left atrium. Let's take a look. It is not the left atrium. It is the right atrium. I put that wrong. Sorry about that, guys. It's not the left atrium. It's the right atrium. So number six. Number six. Ooh, that says ventricle. Oh no, number six. Yes. Okay. Right atrium. So in our diagram, that is where the blood enters the heart, is in the right atrium. It then draws itself down through the tricuspid valve here. This is a valve actually, into here, the right ventricle. Number five. Pulmonary artery, boom, heads on out to the lungs. So here's our left atrium and our left ventricle. This is a very simple diagram of the heart. So, and then this is here your aorta up here on number two. So just so you know, just simple, simple, simple. There are 12 steps to this, but basically it's the valves in between. But you see here the parts of the heart that are involved. All right. I'll put this worksheet in the as an attachment in your attached to the video today. All right. Let's move on to our next question. Which of the following statements is not true? Okay, so we're looking for something that's not true. We're looking for a false statement. Oops, I forgot to check your answers. Hold on. Right atrium here. Good. Reflexive dilate. Thank you, Sandy. Yes. Reflexive when dilated blood vessels. Yes. Good, Reva. I understand. Yes, Sandy, right atrium. You are correct. I was wrong. Which of the following statements is not true? Massage regulates blood pressure. Massage decreases stroke count. Massage increases hyperemia. Massage decreases heart rate and pulse. So here's a funny phenomenon. Our brain doesn't recognize the word not. True fact. Yeah. Yeah, not yet. So we need to be super clear with our brain what we're asking. So I'm going to reword this and say, which of the following statements is false? Okay, so we're looking for the false statement. Massage regulates blood pressure. Massage decreases stroke count. Massage increases hyperemia. Massage decreases heart rate and pulse. Well, what do we know is true for sure? So of these four, what do we know is true? Because we're looking for the false statement. Well, we know that massage regulates blood pressure. So we can kind of take that out of the equation. Yes, let's see what we got here. Good, okay. So we're saying we know that, so Charlotte is saying that A and C are correct. Let's take a peek here. We know that massage regulates blood pressure, and we know massage increases hyperemia, because remember we just went over what is hyperemia. So A and C are out. What is the false statement? Go ahead. If your fingers are free, you can put it in the chat. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing some answers come in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes. Oh, I guess the A and D were out. Okay. All right. So let's go to our next slide. And the answer is B. Yes. Massage decreases stroke count. Because remember, we just talked about stroke count and what that is. It's so it decreases, it actually increases, massage increases stroke count. So that is the blood flow in the heart, that stroke count, how much blood is actually being processed when that heart contracts so how much blood is moving. And so it's a good thing to increase our stroke count. It's a good thing to increase hyperemia. It's a great thing to decrease the heart rate and pulse. Now that may seem counterintuitive, right? But we're talking about the pulse. We actually increase the efficiency of the heart with massage therapy. Even though the heart rate, the pulse goes down, the stroke count goes up. And of course, it regulates blood pressure. All right. What is not a part of your lymphatic system? Ooh, we're doing it again, right? What is not? So our brain has a hard time recognizing this word. What is not a part of your lymphatic system? So everything we're about to look at is a part of the lymphatic system except for one thing. All right. So the lymphatic system, what is not a part? A, the spleen. B, the adrenal glands. C, the lymph nodes. D, the thymus. Oh my God, you guys are great. Look at you. You don't even have to eliminate one wrong answer. You already knew. All right, well, we know the lymph nodes are a part of the lymphatic system, but correct answer, adrenal glands. Yes, very good. So adrenal glands are part of what system? Bonus question. What system are the adrenal glands part of? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I'm not even going to give you the word. You know the adrenal glands produce norepinephrine and epinephrine. That's the fight or flight. We touched on that today. What you got going on? Okay, I'm going to look in the chat. What do you got? Oh, no, put it in the chat. Sympathetic nervous system, yes, yes. They are a part of the sympathetic nervous system, great. They're also a part of the endocrine system, right? So they produce hormones. Yes, yes, exactly. So we're stretching our brain here. We're seeing these things from different points of view. The endocrine system is the system of our a glandular system in our body that produces hormones that regulate different body functions. So the adrenal glands produce epinephrine and norepinephrine, and that regulates heart rate and digestion and a bunch of different things. Okay, good. All right. Next question. What is an effect of the sympathetic nervous system? A, increases digestion. B, increases heart rate. C, breathing slows down. D, increases saliva. What is an effect of the sympathetic? What is the sympathetic nervous system? I like it. I see some answers coming in. You're not being fooled. So these are all effects of the nervous system, but I'm looking for the effect of the sympathetic nervous system. Bye, Miss Riva. All right. So what's an effect of the sympathetic nervous system? Increases digestion, increases heart rate, slows down breathing, increases saliva. I see lots of right answers coming in here. All right. So we know that the breathing rate of the sympathetic nervous system, when you think about what's happening in the sympathetic nervous system, right? That's the fight or flight. Yeah, it's the fight or flight. Exactly. The breathing rate doesn't slow down. It goes up, right? Yeah. Increases heart rate. You guys all got it. You guys all got it. Yay. Good. So, were those tricky? Were those difficult? That was our sharing for today, our dissecting of questions. Yay! Nice work, you guys. So let's go to our gallery view. And we are finishing with 2 minutes to spare today. How about that? So this was a review of a few systems of the body and the benefits and effects, the benefits and physiological effects of massage on that. In the Federation's content outline, it does say that we will have about 13 questions on the benefits and physiological effects of massage. And I'll put a link to that content outline in the chat for you, and as an attachment or as a document in our patron site as well. But each of those has so we know that this has been a review of the benefits and the physiological effects on different systems of the body. I am going to wrap up our recording for now. Say goodbye to the people who are listening later. Thanks so much for tuning in. Know that each moment, each minute that you spend studying for this test, visualizing a successful outcome, is absolutely attracting positivity to you. Staying in that positive frame of mind, being surrounded when you can by people who are positive, limiting the amount of interaction that you have with people who are negative, but also people who are neutral. You know, it's easy to stay away from negative people because you can tell them right away, right? But those neutral people who are just like kind of like not getting any better, not getting any worse, but just like there used to be an old commercial called "Gotta Make the Donuts." And it's this guy kind of just shuffling into work, right? Gotta make the donuts. And you know, that mindset is poison. You're here today. You're listening today because you are an advancing human being. You're an evolving human being. Hey, and there's no judgment, right? We all know people who just, you know, they work at the post office for 30 years, they get their retirement. That's great. That's good for them. But if you're here, if you're listening, that's not you. I mean, yes, we all love a certain amount of security, but you're here because you're about to take a test that's going to qualify you to practice massage therapy in your state. Take some effort. Y'all went to massage school. You finished massage school. Now it's just the test. You're an advancing human being. You're an evolving human being. And not everybody's wired like that. So congratulations. Really. Congratulations on following through, on listening to your intuition, on listening to the desire of your heart, and going forward and attracting positivity, attracting success. And then one of the signs of that, one of the many signs of your success, will be success on this test. So thanks for being here today. And we'll catch up again real soon. We meet on live Thursdays at noon. And so dig in and find out more about that if you'd like to be part of the live class. But I'm Jody Scholes. I'm signing off for now. See you soon.